So adding a guest user to your current Teams environment and channel can be challenging for some folks, and it's more intimidating than it is anything else. It's really not that tough. So stay tuned. We're going to walk through the whole process right now. We're going to share, create a channel, create a share, add somebody to it, then go to their email, see what happens when they receive the email, and walk through their process on the back end. So stay tuned. We're going to jump right to this. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and get started here. And we're just going to say here we have this team that we've set up called Company X Public Guest. And we have a few channels in here. So the first thing we want to do is see who has access. So we want to add somebody new. So we're going to just say add a member. We just clicked on the team itself. Remember, we want to enroll them in different clinics here, but to add them, to different channels here. But in order to add them to a channel, they have to belong to the main team. So we're going to add the member here. And we're just going to go ahead and type in Jeff Lush right there as a guest. Okay. So clearly a guest to the environment. Now, if you don't, you may not have rights to add guests. If you don't, you're going to have to contact your administrator, but typically they'll let people add guests. So let's just go ahead and say that. And now you can see here that we have two members. Notice here it says a member that we have guests, and notice here that we have guests. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look and see what happens next. So we want to go ahead and add them to this channel. So let's go ahead and look. We're just going to put Clinic 1 there. We're going to click on that little eye right there. We're going to notice that nobody's there. We're going to add a member. Notice we only have one. We're going to click on there, and we're just going to type in the name again. And there it is right there. Now, why can we type that in? Remember, we can type that in because they're already a member of the team. If they were not a member of the team, you could not add them. That's a very, very important part of this. So, but they are a member of the team. We're good to go. So we can go ahead and if we click on here and we say manage channel, we can see again, we have one owner, one guest. All good so far? So here inside of Clinic 1, again, we have files and posts, and we're just going to put a post here. We're just going to call this Clinic 1 post, and we're just going to hit go. Okay, so now that post is isolated just to that clinic. If I go to anywhere else, let's just say accounting here, I'm not going to see that. I'm going to see this private post here. But if I go back to Clinic 1, I'll just see that post. So remember, everybody within this channel can see that post. Okay? So it's not private. Everybody can see it. So let's go ahead and we're going to flip over to the experience from the recipient's perspective. What is it that Jeff Lush at MSN.com received? And then how do we go ahead and interact with that? So I've gone ahead here and I'm looking right at that Teams message. I received the Teams message and it says here that I've been added to a team. So this is what will happen. As soon as you add the guest to a team, they're going to receive a notification, just like this one. Pretty easy. And I'm just going to say Open Teams. Now, when I say Open Teams, I may already have Teams running in my environment. I may be doing other work within Teams. That's okay. I'm just going to hit, for this, it's easier if you just hit cancel here and just say use a web app instead and click go. Now I'm going to be entered into that team that I have access to, which happens to be right here, 2 replies, welcome to Public X. Now it just happens to be that this user here is still signed on as me in Lush Advisor. So I'm just going to go ahead and sign out. And we're going to see what it looks like actually. So I'm going to sign out. Okay. And then we're going to see what it looks like from the Jeff Lush at MSN.com perspective. So we're going to go ahead and sign out. So I wanted to go through that because sometimes you're signed in as multiple users. So it's not uncommon to get invited as a guest to another team environment, but you're still signed into your current team environment. It's okay. We just need to make sure of it. So we just sign out. We looked at the little logo. Here, I want to sign in as that person. Okay. So now I signed out. Oops, I hit sign out instead. So we're going to go ahead and close that. And we're just going to say Open Teams. Okay. So here I'm going to hit cancel again. going to say use the web app, and now it's going to ask me, well, who do you want to sign in as? In this case, I want to sign in as Jeff Lush at MSN.com, and then I'm going to need to put in the password. Okay, so we entered in the password here, and then we're going to hit sign in. Now here at this point, it's going to sign into your Teams environment. Everything's looking good. This is exactly what we want it to do. Now notice I've done a couple of these videos, so we have a couple of them. But remember when we looked at it before, we saw two clinics here. There was a vendor clinic here under Company X, and then Company X had a whole nother section. We don't see any of that here. We just see what we now have access to. Now if I click on here, notice here that I can see multiple team environments that I'm a part of. So you can see here I'm a guest of this environment, this environment, and then I have my own personal environment, which I'm in right now, and I'm guests in these. And this, you can see here that I am part of this team. So I have multiple teams where I'm guests at. So you can have multiple guests. You can be a participant as a guest in multiple teams and not impact your team, your personal team environment. So that's good. So here we can also click on activity and see that I was added here. You can see here that right here, Clinic One Post, it's a private channel. Here I was added right here as a guest. Okay, so you kind of track what's going on. Here I was added to accounting. Okay, so all of those here, when I go into my Teams environment, we can see that. Here's Company X right here, and here's accounting. If you remember, there were a bunch of channels in there, but here I have access to this because I was granted that access. So you can see it's pretty simple to use. Now, there's one caveat that I did not include here. When you click on that email that you receive here, wrong email. When you receive that email message, which I don't know if I can get back to that, there you go, right there. So when we receive this email message and we click here, you might be prompted for additional information. So additional information means that they're running multi-factor authentication in your environment, most likely, that you're a guest of. That's okay. All you need to do is put in the additional information that it requires. Most likely they'll ask for a password, a telephone number, and then when you sign on the next time, you'll be asked to give your multi-factor authentication, and you'll be good to go. That's about as simple as it is to sign in into another team as a guest. So good luck.